Hello, hello. Well, it's been fun to check in with my yogis who are actually here live with me on Zoom. Like I said, we're all doing yoga at our houses. And I've not been here at my house doing this Zoom thing for quite a long time. It's fun to be back in the living room here. And I'm just setting a context for our practice today. Uh, Here in Menominee, Wisconsin, it's still snowing. And so we were just discussing, in fact, how heavy this snow is and how important it is to deal with it mindfully versus getting into that, like, I've got to get it done mode. And the shoulders come up, and all of a sudden you have no support for your core body, including that low back. And so we'll be doing some things to just try and really wake up those areas, which are the same areas we need for gardening and all that other good stuff, which is soon to come, hopefully around the corner. So anyway, have a great practice. Thanks for joining me. We're going to start off on our back bodies. We're going to come into our compression and expansion breathing, which I made up a long time ago. It's one of the best tools that I know of for comfortably and safely igniting the core body without getting the neck involved and getting us into deeper breath that really nourishes us and keeps us free from injury when we're doing stuff. So when you're ready, get onto your back body. Remember, you can light incense, you can have a candle. I've got all of the above, plus some yummy tea. And I hope you'll just continue to make yourself comfy during our practice. All right, on your back body. And first, just kind of move around, get comfortable, shake those limbs out a little bit. When you're ready, I want you to just tune into the back body and notice that there are places that your body and head touch the floor or your yoga mat, and then places where it rises up from there, right? So it's almost like you're, tracing the terrain of a mountain range or something in your mind's eye. And those curves that you're identifying are natural and normal and good. But we're going to be playing with them a little bit during our compression and expansion breathing. First of all, please come into a few sighing breaths with me. Such a beautiful way to anchor into this moment, this body, this breath. Inhaling slow, deep and wide, witnessing the rising wave, and through the mouth, sighing breath. Let's do a couple more. Inhaling. Just notice, please, what you feel when those sighs happen. I often witness just a lightening coming over me, a lightness, a release of heavy or stress or holding. So remember, throughout our practice, you can come back into sighing breath anytime. We're going to take it now into compression and expansion. So when you're ready, on your first exhale, think about drawing the belly towards the spine until you feel that curve of the low back start to anchor into the floor, and continue to squeeze out through the front of the abdomen. You can think about squeezing through the rib cage. And we're kind of imagining that we're emptying all the air out of an old air mattress. I like to ask, is there more? Can I squeeze more? When there is nothing left, relax, let that spinal curve return, and allow that inhale breath wave to come on up the spine. Notice it. And at the very end, see if you can sip in a little extra, expanding up into that chest clavicle area. That area expands only at the end of the inhale. And again, exhaling, compression, emptying, asking, is there more? Then inhaling, expanding, is there more? And one of my favorite things during this time is to practice relaxing through the neck. So while I'm in that deeply engaged, flattened low back area, I begin rolling the head and talking to all of those I've gotta muscles. as I call them. Right where the neck and the skull join is an area that we often engage when we're trying to get things done or we're stressed. And this is a chance to liberate them and separate them from the true doer muscles, this center body. Shoulder heads slide down so that the lat muscles, those big long side muscles, can connect the shoulder girdle to the hip girdle. I remember the moment when I read about that and realized the truth of it, that these side muscles are truly the only stabilizers for shoulder and hip girdle together. And that's what makes us powerful and safe and keeps us less likely to stress or injure another part of the body. Some other things that can help us just be present and peaceful. Please continue, by the way. I know we're doing a lot of rounds. This is amazing pranayama or breath work. And they often say that 10 minutes of focused breath work replaces about an hour of lost sleep. So it can really help restore and rejuvenate us. While you're doing this work, please add our 3 points of introversion, turning the gaze up and in towards third eye. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth. And witness the rest of the tongue and jaw soft. Lastly, add your ujjayi, great sounding breath. The throat is contracted just a little bit, creating a little valve for the breath to pass through. If you find that just tension building or distracting, you can let it go. Otherwise, I find it helps me be more present and more core driven in all of my actions on the mat. It's kind of a good mind cleanser too. All right, we're going to be here for probably another half a dozen rounds at least, just compression and expansion breathing. I know it can get boring to the busy mind to do repetitive things, but it's a great practice. And what we notice is there is so much to notice while we're here. And can I talk more to some of those core muscles, getting them to ignite and be a part of this process? Can I relax better through the face, neck, and shoulders? And can I get more skilled at emptying even a few more percentages of breath or filling just a little bit more? Notice when you're in the compression phase and that low back is flattened into the floor, that the pubic bone will be tilting up. That's another change in the landscape that I forgot to mention. All right, let's do one more like that, and then we're going to do a little add-on. When your next inhale comes, sweeping the arms overhead along the floor. And then when the exhale comes, don't rush it. We're going to come into our compression breath, but turn it into rock pose. So tightening the entire body, hands into fists, arms into sides, feet flex, butt cheeks, thighs engage. And if you'd like, adding a sit-up. And we're going to do about 6 or so of those, depending on your breath length. Emptying, emptying. Is there more? If your neck feels really tight today anyway, I would leave it the sit-up portion out of things. In this reach portion, it's a great chance to notice what's going on in your shoulders today. Is there more? What does it feel like to be filled during that time of non-doing, no action, just enjoying being breathed, and then finding that little extra? One more. All that beautiful fresh oxygen coming in, giving you a life force, awakeness, a better zest for life, we hope. Lovely. The next time you're inhaling, begin actively reaching arms overhead, and I'm kind of flexing and pointing and rolling and working through wrists and ankles and maybe even yawning. Oh. Sometimes even if it's a fake one, it turns into a real one. I love that. Clasping one wrist with the other hand and drawing long through that side of the body. And then the other side. Again, great chance to notice differences. And then we're going to draw the right knee into the belly, release wind pose. Shoulders anchor down and kind of wing in through the elbows. Feet are flexed, engaging down through that left thigh here is a really valuable part of this pose. A lot of us tend to not use the quadriceps or even get our legs straight when we're striding. And we really need to have those muscles be awake and partnering with the hamstrings. Would it feel good to move that knee a little in and out? Sometimes you might feel a little impingement, by the way, in those kind of hip flexor areas. Obviously, don't go anywhere that feels ouchy, but what a great chance to notice what might be happening in your body today. On a long inhale, extend that right leg. And again, you might point and flex. And when I'm doing that, I can feel it kind of flossing the tension lines through Achilles, calf, and ham. Exhale, root that low back. And as you descend the right leg, it's another chance to stay soft in the neck, maybe rolling side to side. And relaxing entirely. Practice softening. As you're ready, guiding the left knee into the belly. Right thigh powering down, feet are flexed, shoulders anchored, neck soft. And again, kind of pulsing that knee a little side to side. What is on this side? Is it different? How does the breath fill you in this shape, especially when you've got the thigh pretty close to the belly? We can even place a small cushion or towel or blanket there if we want to get more abdominal massage. On your next big inhale, send that left leg up, and again, enjoy pointing and flexing. Softness throughout the face, the tongue, maybe even a soft smile saying to yourself, you know what? I'm fabulous. You are. Nice long inhale, exhale, root and descend. Softening inside of engagement. An interesting practice. And then softening completely. Bringing the feet flat under the knees for bridge pose, perhaps placing the block between the thighs if you love that little awareness. You can also just imagine one there. Work those shoulder blades underneath you. And as you're ready, on your first exhale, really think about compression. So again, drawing belly to spine, spine to floor, and notice how that peels the pelvis up off the floor into your bridge. It's a very different way of entering bridge than just kind of using the glutes to heave the hips up. On the inhale, descend as slowly as you can. I'm going to do a number of rounds here. If you get kind of a hamstring tension going that makes you think you're going to cramp, just give it some flex and kick and come back in. This is a really valuable, perhaps maybe the most valuable pose that we can add to daily life, especially when we're going to go out and do shoveling or lifting bags of compost or things like that. Why? Because this back body is usually tight but weak. We do too much sitting, and even when we're standing, a lot of us are kind of hinged forward a little bit. So this is a chance to reignite that back line, what we call the posterior kinetic chain. Say hello to your posterior kinetic chain. Hi, friend. I'm counting on you to keep me upright, young, and strong. Let's do a few more. Breath initiating motion. Exhaling, rising. Inhaling, descending. Is there more? I'm going to give my legs both a quick straight into the sky, a point and flex before I bring them back into bridge. We're just going to raise the hips for our foot hover. And foot hover is a great way to do stabilizing for those muscles around that SI joint where so many people get a little tweaked, especially when shoveling snow and other lifting behaviors. So as you lift your foot one at a time, slow hovering off the floor, notice, do they feel equal? Not the feet, the glutes and the muscles that are holding you. Or do you feel one hip drop? And if so, see if you can wake up the muscles of that standing leg and butt and create more solidity. Are you using your neck? Is your tongue relaxed or tense? Are you breathing? And slowly releasing. I'm going to straighten my legs up again to the sky and then bring them knees down by the ribs for happy baby. I'm clasping my big toes. I really like that version. But if that feels like too far to reach or you don't like that sensation, sometimes putting a strap across is nice. Remember, you can grab the blade of the feet. I find that clasping the ankles never gives me enough stretch, so I would add the strap instead, but see what works for you. We'd love to add a little extra power, bringing those knees a little closer to the floor, tilting your tailbone a little towards the floor and sliding the shoulders down. So you've got a really nice core engagement. And now send big belly breath in to create stretches from the inside. And witnessing that entire inhale breath wave as it moves from the low body all the way up the spine. One more. Marvelous. And we're going to release and plant the feet wide for horse riding stance. And just a brief pressing up. You might kind of release and pulse up a couple of times. And coming on down for our reclined pigeon. Crossing right ankle on the left thigh. I like to wag that knee away a few times. Feels like it just brings some nice synovial fluid into the joint. And then if you can, hug that right knee as close to the right chest as possible. And maybe you've got your left leg in the sky. If that's too much, leave it on the floor. But sending everything a little towards the center line should bring you into something good in that piriformis. The piriformis is right there in the butt, and again, we use it a lot when we're lifting and pushing, climbing, things like that, squatting. So we want this muscle to be awake and ready for work. Sometimes it feels good to grab the foot too, and then you can kind of play with seesawing the foot and knee into the right angle for the best stretch. One more big inhale. Ah, love it. All right, let's switch. Again, sometimes it feels really good to do like a knee release, ankle release before creating our pose on the other side. Crossing left ankle to right thigh, hugging left knee, shoulders slide down, neck is easy. And I'm sending that knee a little towards the center line. The closer you hug it to the chest, the more you'll find an edge. And then send breath in. I think of breath as like a little love note that you send in to parts of your body. And you might use the foot as well and seesaw. Never let me rush you. If you're like, man, this is so good, I need more. Do not rush, but in your own time, come on out. Can give that leg and ankle some release. Then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together in a relaxed butterfly, which will be adding a strengthening aspect to it in a moment. But for now, just notice, what is it like for you in this pose? How intense is the stretch into that inner thigh, groin, hip area? Sometimes we might feel pressure in the outside of the hip joint. And if you're ever going to just hang out here as a relaxation pose, like in your Shavasana, you can just tuck a little bit of a cushion or a block under the legs, and that can often remove that pressure line. But we're going to add a strengthening aspect by lifting the hips just a little off the floor. Now, if you feel like low back pressure, make sure that you don't have a big arch in your back. And if anything, you can think about kind of tucking the tailbone, not like hyper tuck, don't, squeeze those glutes super hard, but just that adjustment and angle could make a big difference. We're going to hold this for quite a while. You could even hold it for 3 to 5 minutes if you really want, but we usually hold it about a minute. And it's a chance to relax some parts of the body and the breath and notice which parts are working. And is it unusual for you to be able to feel those muscles in that deep inner thigh and glute line? We want them awake. They are a big part of our rooting ability, right? So our ability to squat and push up or to carry something heavy, push something forward, you name it. And I often feel like being strong in my rooting muscles and core muscles helps me feel more stable emotionally in the world too, just more kind of ready to respond to the unknowns from a place of curiosity and calm. It really seems to help. All right, coming slowly down, keep the feet where they are and just settle the hips and then the knees. Lovely. Let's slowly relax those legs straight. And it could feel good to do kind of a pumping where I'm just sort of lifting my knees and whacking them back down towards the floor. Whacking sounded rather violent, but you know what I mean. All right, folks, we're going to come into one more reclined posture here, abdominal pumping. So we've already been doing some great hello to the core. Let's see what else we can find. Inhaling, nice big Buddha belly. Exhale, empty, hold out, do not breathe. With the breath held out, draw the belly in towards the spine and push to the sky. Until you need to breathe. Inviting you to do another round with me. And interestingly, I find that a slower pace is actually more powerful for me because I can draw more deeply in and out. And I find that when I do that, I can feel stretching along the spine and even up into the kind of diaphragm and even the throat or chest. It could even make you cough. When that is complete, bring the knees into the belly, nice deep hug, deep seed pose. If you want to add a little sit-up motion to complete the seed, go for it. You can gaze upon your toes, your amazing feet. We're going to be using them soon. And in your own time, if you'd like, spinal rock up into cross-legged. If that's not a comfortable transition for you, just go to one side and come on up. I'm going to take a sip of tea. We've still got snow falling. It's pretty beautiful and meditative, actually. I'm glad I'm getting to see this. All right, folks, rolling forward onto hands and knees. Inhaling to your cow and exhaling to your cat pose. And I'm hoping that during cat, you hang out and notice, can I let my head relax even more? Can I get that low abdomen? Sometimes we call it the robot belly because we ignite these muscles right between the hip bones during robot. They're the ones that support those low vertebrae. So as you are in cat back, thinking about those, almost like you could lift off the floor, you could clap. On your cow pose, enjoy drawing the shoulders towards the hips and reaching the heart forward and getting that extra little stretch through the front line, especially as you find your last sip of inhale. Using your ujjayi, all of your tools to stay so tuned into your own amazing body. At some point in cat back, I invite you to send the ribs to the left and look behind you over your right shoulder. Then switching ribs to the right, looking behind you over your left shoulder. Then coming back to center, inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Never rush, let your breath initiate. And then please settle in stable table. And that means that I'm in table with a nice flat back, all that beautiful core support. Again, I should be able to clap. And what I'm going to do is just raise one hand and opposite knee, hovering and noticing if I lost any integrity in the pose, slowly switching. Again, can I stay soft in the neck, face, and shoulders? And as you switch again, invitation to hover and then slowly extend, flexing fully through the foot until that leg clicks in, extending fully through the arm. Take one more inhale and extend the limbs a little out to the side, not a lot, 10, 20 degrees. And then slow as return you can, glacially slow. On your next inhale, other hand and knee, hover, then extend. And I just noticed that I'm kind of shortening the back of my neck. This is actually an opportunity to kind of tuck your chin and reach long through the crown. Again, take those limbs a little out to the side, check that they are straight and activated, and then slowly back. So I should be lifting through the center body to control that descent. I'm appreciating a little wrist rolling here before I come into one more round of that. So some things to keep an eye on as you continue extending. Make sure that you did not take your leg higher than your hip and arch the back. We want to stay absolutely neutral, lifted. Last side. Again, long neck, tucking the chin a little bit. Fantastic. Again, love up those wrists and then come all the way to the belly. We're going to come into our jet airplane pose. And again, this is one of the best tools for igniting that back line and really renovating our shoulders. Anchor through the pelvic triangle, that's pubic bone and hip bones. Shoulder heads activate, like really circle them down the back and then reaching back through the hands. As you breathe, inhale, extend, maybe the chest and head lift. Exhale, slow descent. Inhaling, make sure you retuck that tailbone if you lost it. Extending and returning. As we do a few more, just notice what's appropriate in your body. Some people like raising the legs off the floor here. I often feel it puts a band of tension into my back. And tension's not always the same thing as strengthening, if you know what I mean. So watching your own system for any little add-ons, invitation to either continue in and out or to hold the pose. And I love the add-on of kind of sweeping one arm forward and one arm back. I find it's just really good. Planting the hands, we'll press back to child's pose, taking those knees wide. Nice anchoring of the tailbone back towards the heels, hands forward. And I'm going to ask you to take a few active breaths. In my case, that inhale makes me want to lift my chest up off the floor. And on the exhale, kind of settle towards the floor again, maybe even resting the forehead. I can feel that inhale massaging all the way through my upper back, my lat muscles. One more big inhale. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone, curl the toes under, and take those feet wide. So if your knees were already wide, you just send the feet straight back. And we're coming into our bear pose. It's like downward dog, but we've got hands and feet wider, kind of out at the edges of the mat. And I'm going to bend the knees really deeply. If this is just not working for you for any reason, remember, you could always do kind of what we just did in child's or playing in puppy. Otherwise, right here, I'm going to invite you to inhale and kind of go forward a little bit until your shoulders are above the hands. Exhale, use the belly to spine to send your hips back again. Let's do that a few more times. So this is some nice shoulder work. You want to notice if your elbows are bending or anything's funky, try and get strong and stable. And of course, peaceful through that neck. One more. And then slowly, as you can, walk the hands back. I take time to actually extend and lengthen through each arm. Really good work. Hanging out at the back of the mat in our ragdoll with this wide stance. And just take those hips side to side. This is one of my favorite things to do throughout the day. If I've been standing or sitting at my computer, because I do a bit of both, and both of them will make my back and legs feel tight. And I'll often just fold like this. And again, if you're doing shoveling or any heavy lifting, pausing to do this now and then is so fabulous. I'm going to use my hands on my thighs to come up. Nice support. And resolve in your mountain jet airplane stance. So my feet are wide, actually wider than traditional mountain, but very active. And I'm just going to pause here to feel that sense of root and rise that is mountain pose. So it's very different than just sort of being on the earth because gravity's got us. We are actively rooting down like a great, powerful tree. When you're ready, please join me in some sweeping of the arms, breath initiating motion, inhaling out and up. Is there more? You might bring the hands all the way together. Exhaling out and down. When you bring those arms up, if you're feeling tension through neck and shoulders, consider instead just leaving them a little bit of a V shape. One more, nice big inhale. Is there more? Exhaling, nice deep fold, swan dive. Always bend the knees to initiate that. Let that head hang as if you're never going anywhere else. On your inhale, either hands on the floor or shins, extend halfway up. And on your exhale, begin that journey forward into your plank pose. So you might want to bring those feet in. That creates easier core stability as you can kind of squeeze your thighs. And notice if plank just feels like too much, come on down to either knees or forearms. Otherwise, right here, I'm going to give you a little challenge. You might just be holding forearm plank. Awesome. If you're in plank, I want you to just retract one hand at a time towards you. And you can see I'm not doing a big dip of the hips. I'm just staying stable and lifted. And then last fun adventure here, see if you can hop those feet off the floor. Beautiful. Inhale, little upward facing dog, either knees down or legs powerful. Exhaling, downward facing dog, or if you prefer, child's pose. 3 sighing breaths. Neck is relaxed, whatever version pose you're in, the neck is not needed. All right. We're going to come all the way to our bellies again. If you love a little plank to chaturanga and your wrists are ready, go for it. Inhaling plank, knees or feet. Remember, in plank or in chaturanga, you actually want your hips to arrive last. So I'm going to let my face and my chest go down and then the hips. Inhaling again into your jet airplane. You might roll those wrists out and you might intertwine for yoga mudra. Good. One more big breath here. Exhaling, release, and press back to your child's pose. So you'll notice we're doing a lot of pairing of movements. If we arch one way, then we want to round and arch the other, that the body needs these answers, if you will. One more big breath in child's pose. On your next exhale, tucking the tailbone, taking those feet wide and coming into your bear pose again. Nice deep bear. You got it. We're going to do some movements of bringing our knees forward towards one at a time, towards the arm. If this is just like way too much wrist work, etc., a reminder that you could actually be doing something similar in table pose on your fists, okay? So when you are ready, all the core support in the world, really nothing should change in the body as you bring your knee, whichever one you want, towards the same arm. So I'm bringing my left knee towards my left tricep and then returning. Usually it's helpful to do the knee crunch on the exhale. We'll do a couple more each side, slow and steady, really track that the head is not dropping. Again, if you are in your table version, all the same principles apply. And I'm hoping what you can feel is some of this side body working. We'll do a little bit more in a moment in our gate pose, but I'm hoping that you're feeling, especially right here above those hip bones. All right, hopefully you've done even amounts on these. And then as you're ready, we're going to bring those feet in and come into our first dog series. If that's not great in your body, cow-cat's a beautiful spinal pumping. Inhaling to your plank. Again, you can always hop to check where you're at. Exhaling, chaturanga, hips are last. Inhaling either cobra or upward facing dog. And exhaling, downward facing dog. And we're gonna slowly walk the hands back to the feet again. You can have them in mountain or wider. It's kind of fun to play with those dimensions and notice what they give you. Nice commitment to the fold, to gravity. Inhaling, extend halfway up. Exhaling, this time we're going to sit to chair, dropping the butt. And this is a really powerful moment to notice. What is the position of my pelvis? If I'm even a little bit arched, tailbone tilting back, I am not in these core muscles. So I want you to just notice that in your own body. Maybe even take your hands, one to the belly, one to the low back, and just notice. When do I feel these low belly muscles ignite? Good. Keep them ignited as you root and rise. Squeezing those inner thighs towards each other. Exhaling, prayer hands. Breathe. Notice. If you took on any tension and wrists, you can roll them. If you took on neck tension, imagine it just floating down, or you can always give yourself a little movement or massage. All right, we're going to do a little side body stretch. And if you want more intensity, you can use both arms. One arm sometimes is plenty. I'm going to take my feet a little bit wide. I'm going to inhale and reach up through the right arm. And then exhaling, I'm letting my left arm kind of slide down. I'm letting my left hand slide as I bring my right arm towards the center line. Inhaling, return. Exhaling into that side bend. And the reason I often like using one arm instead of two is that I find that I keep better track of letting the side body do the work, and I don't take on neck tension. So for me, that's better. If you want to be doing both arms, you can have them connected with a strap or bring them into steeple and squeeze those arms by the ears. Let's move to the other side. Inhaling, sweeping up, left arm. Make sure you're staying connected in that core so that as you slide that right hand down and you reach towards the center line, you're making these movements as if you're between two panes of glass. Hopefully that's what I look like from the side. I will sometimes, if I'm getting into quite a bend, I'll look down. Sometimes that's easier for me than trying to keep the head straight. Because again, I want the work in the side body, not in my neck. One more. And release. Good. We're going to do some standing hip pump. This is a great way to warm up for anything core, physical, etc. So little movement is just the hips going back a little bit and arms coming forward. And then exhaling, I'm going to bring the hips forward and my arms out. I'm kind of bringing them out like this, like I'm almost like rowing. You can bring them down if you want to work kind of that jet airplane back. You can go big. You can go into a full deep squat chair pose. So I tend to inhale on the chair and exhale, squeezing up and forward, but you can play with it. You can do it however you want. I'm hoping you're feeling a lot of rooting through those feet. You can also play with, continuing a few more if you would, play with bringing your toes up so that you're rooting through the base of each toe, or the, the whatever that is, the pad of those toes, not the toes themselves. Last time. Inhale, root and rise, sweep up, big glute squeeze forward, little back bend. Exhaling, swan dive fold. Inhaling, extend halfway up. Again, your feet can be wherever you want. How close, how far. Exhaling, walking your way forward into your plank. Again, if low back is an issue, always have your feet closer. It will make supporting easier. So your choice, once again, to be here or come on down to forearm plank. So you might be doing that little knee thing there. You might be doing it in table. You can also do it in forearm plank. Yes, you can. Little frog pose. When you're doing this, your stationary leg should not move. So sometimes people will tend to dip the hips or collapse that back leg or rotate the foot. Make sure you don't do that, or you will feel pressure in the back. You'll feel weak and you're not. So we just have to use our architecture the right way. Part of that architecture, that engine that makes us strong, is the breath. So really tuning into it. Nice ujjayi, slow movements, soft neck. And releasing to the floor, we're going to be coming into our quadricep stretch and bow. If you know that only standing works for you, then please do that version. I'm going to bring my forearm across the front of the mat. I'm going to anchor the pelvis before I reach for the ankle. Again, this is just to support and protect the low spine. And then I'm just going to settle my forehead onto the forearm. Makes it easier to breathe while I tune in to that front of the thigh. So notice if your bent knee is winged out even a little bit, and how bringing it in towards the straight leg will really change where you're getting that stretch, where in that hip flexor, quadricep, down into the knee. You really get to direct it here. Always allow the shoulder to wing in towards the spine. Notice if you were kind of holding it forward. And of course, notice how that last little sip of inhale gives you a massage. One more. And release. Sometimes it feels good to people to kind of counter flex, so to curl the toes under and flex the thigh bone towards the sky. Switching, other forearm, other hand, clasping at the ankle, resting the forehead against shoulder, head sliding in towards the spine. Another little detail that those of us who are refining our practice over the years might add is kind of flaring your yoga toes. So your toes are peeling back from the ball of the foot. It can feel really good. Sometimes it may make your leg feel like it wants to cramp if you do it for too long, but it can add a sense of awakenedness to this posture. And again, in your own time, releasing, perhaps counter-flexing, and then bow pose, which I love. So before you get there, because we generally can't hold it terribly long, I want to add just a couple things. One, it's hard to breathe in bow pose because our belly's on the floor. but it's really fabulous to breathe deeply into your belly in bow pose because you actually get some extra massage through there. So just give that your attention. Also, make sure that both shoulder blades are being allowed to really move towards the spine. Again, sometimes people kind of hike their shoulders forward. So as you're ready, anchoring through the pelvis, I again enter with one forearm at the front and clasp the first ankle. That keeps me from flailing around as much. Then reaching for the second ankle. Shoulder heads, I'm gonna squeeze my blades towards each other. I'm gonna anchor the knees towards each other, flare my yoga toes, and inhaling, press the ankles into the hands. Exhaling, soften. So if you're feeling low back pressure during this, either don't do it or see if you can adjust the angle in some way. Sometimes it's just using the butt cheeks more to think about tucking the pubic bone towards the floor. One more. And release, pressing back to your child's pose. Should feel so good to get that counter shape. Again, please use the breath as a massage. I often call it the change agent because it has the ability to move stagnation in our body and to wake us up in strength in ways that we won't without the breath. All right, I mentioned gate pose. We're going to come there next. And I'm going to give a little add-on. It's a little wrist intensive, so you might choose to just stick with regular gait. And if, by the way, I've given you enough wrist stuff for the day already, and you're like, yeah, I don't need it, you could certainly do more of that side stretching we did and strengthening, or you could do some triangle pose. Triangle pose, or even warrior two and lateral stretch have a lot in common with our gate pose if you're really activating that side body. But then you're not on your wrist, so it's an option. Otherwise, if you're going to join me in the gate pose, shoulder heads anchored, we're in our table pose. And I'm once again going to check that I've got that robot belly, that whole front body is supported. I can clap. And I'm going to take my left foot and I'm going to place it at the back of the mat, perpendicular to my other foot, parallel with the end of the mat. And before I do anything else, I'm squeezing my right butt cheek towards the left edge of the mat. And I'm looking underneath and I'm noticing how my right thigh bone then becomes straight up and down. And that's what I want. And I can feel that starts to work my core and it makes me want to open into this flat position. Now, give another ignition to that foot at the back like you're trying to squish something there. Give ignition to your lower waistline to raise into the upper waistline. Again, if your neck is more comfortable looking at the floor, please do. See if you can bring your left shoulder back. So the shoulders are stacking, the body becomes flat. I might even be able to just lift my floor hand. Yeah, good. Maybe raising that top arm, maybe reaching towards the front end of the mat, kind of getting that side body stretch again that we get in our lateral stretch in warrior. And then slowly releasing to your table, and we'll do a little cow cat. And you might want to take the opportunity to roll the wrist, just notice what's needed. And we'll bring our right foot down and back, squish, squish. Squeeze that left butt cheek towards that right edge of the mat. And I'm hoping you can notice when you do that, how it's actually not just the butt cheek you're intentionally squeezing, in this case, the left, but when I do it, I can feel then that my right glute engages and fires up too, in a way that it can't, of course, when the hips are back, right? So, so important. So let that happen as your foundation before you choose to open up. Again, using that lower waistline, breathing into the shape, noticing. I didn't offer this on the other side, but one of my favorite little things is to kind of pulse here. So I'll sort of rotate my chest a little towards the floor and then open it again. And then close, plant the hands, inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Notice if you need child's pose, a little wrist rollout, a sip of tea, what would be good? And I'm going to be offering that little add-on that I mentioned to gate pose It's really essentially a sidearm plank. Um, But I find sidearm plank with the feet together kind of awkward. I see that it's awkward for a lot of people with your feet and everything. So this is kind of another way to get some of that same strengthening and that sense of flight, which can be fun. All right. Again, you could be playing with any of the stuff we've already done that isn't, say, wrist intensive if you're wanting to. Some more forearm plank would be amazing. And in forearm plank too, you can do a little bit of shimmying and things that'll do some really nice side body work. We are going to come into our plank. So I'm just taking it straight from plank instead of gate, and I'm going to show you the gate version as well. So just coming straight from plank, I bring my right knee towards my right tricep or chest, and then I'm going to cross that right foot flexed underneath and out to the left edge of the mat as I drop my left foot flat and I open up to the sky. Okay, so I've got kind of a 90-degree foot or parallel with the back of the mat, and then I'm going to use my core to come back. Okay, the other way to get there would be from gate pose. So come on into your gate and make sure that glute of the standing leg is fired up. And then you feel also the beautiful foundation of that back leg, which has to be anchoring and straight and pushing, or that knee will be collapsing and you'll feel, again, weak and it'll be hard on your knees. So no good. We don't want that. Use that lower waistline to lift, and it should give you the freedom to bring that left or that other foot underneath you. So make sure you're doing both sides, obviously. And you can come on back. So if you found a version that was kind of fun and felt good, you might want to do it a couple of times. And then I invite you to notice what, if anything, you're wanting in terms of heat building, flow. Maybe you want to do another round of dog series. Maybe you'd like to do another round of standing hip pump with me. And it could be fun to take your feet a little bit wider. Again, we're kind of working our body in a lot of different ways when we widen that stance. So very valuable. Again, you don't have to go deep, but you can. And you can make it a faster kind of pumping speed motion, breath getting pumped, or you can make it nice and slow, a practice of steady breath and awareness. Soft tongue, soft gaze. And during all of this, we should feel no neck effort. This is all coming from, again, that core, thigh, butt, belly, lat muscles. Yeah. And hopefully really feeling that squeeze in the shoulder blades. If I weren't wearing black, you'd probably be able to see a wrinkling of the tank top, and that's what you should feel back here as well. Last one. And wherever you are, if you care to join us for one last yoga mudra, it can be marvelous. A reminder, if you go to do this and you kind of can't get your arms straight, or the shoulders don't rotate back and give you that shoulder blade sandwich, critical. Go ahead and grab a strap. I'm grabbing the sleeve of my sweatshirt if I can find it, like so. You just need something with a little length to let those hands come apart even a little bit. Can often make that difference to get you that shoulder blade sandwich. Again, the shoulder heads should be able to go down and back, boom, arms active and straight, and then off. And some of us like adding a little forward fold. It's kind of fun. Then gravity helps take the hands up and over. Everything's slow, by the way, because this pose is marvelous for letting us get into stretching through the traps, but there are also a lot of really small connections through here. We don't want to be winging our ways through it. When you feel complete, come on out, roll wrists, nice counter stretch. Again, we're big on that. All of these would be great for warming up and recovering from things like shuffling. Yeah, so as I cross my right arm in front, I'm going to take my left hand at the elbow and press towards the body. This is really key. I find a lot of times people have their hand higher, but it's really at about the elbow that you get that best stretch. Would it feel good to rotate down towards the hand a little bit? Again, I find that brings the stretch and the breath right to that side body. At some point, you might feel complete and just sort of wing it up and away. Let's find that other side. Tuning into breath, flaring it into the back. Maybe tilting down towards the hand a little bit. And tossing up and away. Lovely. And I'd love to end with a little neck massage. You know, often all this, both effort and stretching that we've done, helps release up through that upper back such that sometimes the neck is liberated. So I'm just going to take my hands in a little collar. I'm not gripping or grabbing. I'm just sort of placing, and I'm letting the head roll around on the top of that collar, basically the pinkies at this point. And at some point, I might add a little pressure from underneath to inspire a deeper stretch into the neck. And I often will then take my hands up to the skull itself and use my thumbs around the occipital ridge. So it's that kind of bony protuberance right at the base of the skull, as well as that little kind of valley up and over. And those have some really, really intense kind of suture points. Yeah, I'm gotta assume I'm not the only one being like, wow. All right, and then asking you to notice if you're wanting massage anywhere else. This is a beautiful time to go into forehead, temples, jaw. Remember, you can add lion stretch. You know, we take on tension in so many funky ways. And it can be marvelous once you start paying attention to scalp and things like that. It can be like, wow, who knew that was all there? Yeah, it's fun to get to know your own habits. You know, each of us has our own places, body habits that we store tension or that how we react to things. And that's just makes us human that we have those things, but getting to know them makes us wonderful yogis and better humans. We can kind of go, okay, what's needed? I need some rest, or oh, I need some self-massage, or I need this stretch or that stretch. So I hope you've found some things in today's practice that you feel will support you in the coming weeks. I'm going to invite closing with a held posture of the block under the sacral area to release. This is, I kind of feel like we should name this pose the gardener's friend. But this is one that over the years, I've had so many students who are gardeners say, this helps me so much that I keep a block like in my gardening tool kit. So I just have it out on the lawn. But you know, same thing for snow shoveling, of course, or just sitting a lot, right? Being in a car. So if this is too hard, remember you can use a soft block or a folded up blanket. But the key piece is that you always lay down first, then raise the hips, and that you're placing it at that bony triangle at the top of the butt, not in the low back curve, right? So that beautiful curve that you witness coming away from the floor when you're laying flat, that's not where the block goes. It's got to be down from there. And it should feel good, like it kind of, as you give your weight and you relax into it, it's giving kind of a tractioning for that low back. If it's too much or it doesn't work, come on out. Otherwise, holding with the knees bent for a few breaths. And then if you'd like, extending the legs slowly one at a time until the body is just draped over the block. If you feel your pelvis tilting down, that means you need to scooch the block down. So it's right at that center, and you can simply relax letting yourself be held and stretched, inviting the deep belly breath to massage the tightness through the front. Hopefully, we did a lot of waking up and strengthening in those muscles, but we want them to stay subtle and flexible as well. At any point, if you feel tension building, come off. This is just meant to be very therapeutic, this pose. And coming slowly out and down, you might want knees to belly as a nice final counter shape. And then I'm asking you to notice, what is a great resting shape for you? If you're at home, you've got the option of, for example, putting your legs up the wall or even up on, say, an ottoman or a sofa. And the nice thing about that is that I find the low back takes on less tension than when we're just flat in corpse pose on the hard floor. It's also lovely if you've been on your feet a lot. This is just a beautiful way to kind of let circulation shift and kind of send things back up to the heart. Whatever version you're in, take a moment and scan. Do I need some comfort of clothing or a shawl for warmth or a cozy blanket? Do I need something under my knees if I am flat? And you can always investigate if there's any particular music that helps you really settle in to a meditative zone. I'm going to ask you to once again scan the landscape of the back of the body. And you might be in a different position than corpse, that's fine. Just tune in all the way from the back of the head, through the neck, the upper back, all the way through the lumbar and lower and the hips, the legs, noticing the curve of the hamstring, the calf, the heel. And as we come into 3 sighing breaths, the invitation is in each exhale to give more and more weight to those points of contact. The body becoming deeply heavy. Inhaling slow, deep, and wide. And now closing the mouth gently, spaciously. Letting go of all breath control. And inviting your body and being to settle into a soft yogic sleep. Nothing to know, do, or accomplish. I invite you to become lightly aware of my voice. We've been in resting for a few minutes. And I invite you to notice how even a few minutes can be so nourishing. That, of course, and all the breathing and focus of our practice. But these 3 minutes can be a wonderful transition into the day, a beautiful moment to now set your intentions. What emotional stance would you like to have as you re-enter the flow of life, whether it's engaging with other people or tasks that you perhaps have set out for yourself? I often feel that we have so many different versions of ourselves, and that sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out like which version we want to re-engage or reclaim or bring forth in order to live our best life today. I'm so grateful that you brought your amazing body, your good heart to the practice. Thanks for joining me from Zoom on this snowy day. And I hope I get to be with you at the mat again very soon. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace. Namaste.
Namaste.
Have fun being you. Be safe with everything that you get up to. And I hope to see you again soon.